What if I told you that your silence speaks louder than your love ever did? It sounds backward, right? You give, you show up, you care, and he pulls away. So you go quiet, you stop reaching out, and suddenly, like clockwork, he's back. But why? Why does distance trigger desire? Why does absence suddenly make him feel your value in a way your presence never seemed to? It's not an accident. It's not magic. It's psychology, and it's deeper than most people ever realize. In this video, I'm breaking down the truth behind why men come back when you pull away. Not the fluffy stuff, not recycled breakup advice, but the real, unspoken triggers inside his mind that make your absence impossible to ignore. The moment you stop chasing, the energy shifts. You go from being an option to becoming a mystery. And trust me, but here's the twist. It's not just your silence that makes him come back. It's what that silence says about you. It tells him, I'm not begging, I'm not waiting, I'm evolving. And that is what draws him in, not just emotionally, but instinctively. So if you've ever wondered why he left, why he's back, or what the hell he really wants, you're in the right place. By the end of this, you'll see the pattern for what it truly is. And more importantly, you'll know exactly how to respond. From power, not pain. Because girl, this isn't about getting him back. It's about knowing you never needed to chase him in the first place. Let's get into it. The moment you decide to go no contact, something powerful happens, not just between you and him, but within you. Most people think no contact is just about ignoring texts or staying silent to get someone's attention. But in reality, it's far deeper. It's a psychological reset. It interrupts the pattern he got used to, where you were always available, always emotionally open, always there. And suddenly, you're not. That absence, it stings, but not in a dramatic, obvious way. It creeps in slowly. At first, he may feel relieved, free, like he dodged something heavy. But over time, the silence becomes louder, louder than your voice ever was. It begins to echo in his head, challenging the version of you he thought he understood. And when a man can no longer predict your moves, your emotions, or your access, you become unforgettable. No contact isn't about punishing him. It's about reclaiming your emotional space. It forces him to sit with the weight of his own decisions. It creates a void. And in that void, he starts to reflect, not just on the breakup or the argument, but on how your energy used to make him feel. He begins to romanticize the connection. Memory isn't accurate, it's emotional. And without your constant presence grounding him, the emotional highlights, the way you made him feel, admired, understood, wanted, those are the pieces he remembers most vividly. The key is men often don't process emotional loss in real time. While you may be crying on day one, processing and journaling, he's going out, distracting himself. But while you heal, he starts the journey later. That's why it often seems like men come back out of nowhere weeks or months after no contact begins. It's not out of strategy. It's because they're finally starting to feel what they didn't allow themselves to feel at first. And the power of no contact isn't just what it does to him, it's what it does to you. It gives you time to rebuild your self-worth without outside validation. It allows you to shift from reaction to reflection. It teaches you that your value was never about being chosen, it was about choosing yourself first. And that energy, that's what men feel, even from a distance. When you're no longer grasping, fixing, explaining, that detachment becomes magnetic. Men are drawn not to desperation, but to the calm confidence of a woman who knows her worth. What he doesn't realize at first is that when you go quiet, the dynamic flips. You're no longer playing the role he expected. You're not showing up in the emotional pattern he got comfortable with. He's left wondering, did she move on? Is she happier now? Did she stop caring? Those questions create a storm in his mind, especially if he expected you to wait or fold. And the irony is, the more he starts to crave answers, the more he wants closure, the more he begins to feel something he didn't expect, regret. Not just about losing you, but about underestimating you. That's the true power of no contact. It transforms you in his mind from someone he could always reach to someone he may never get access to again. So while you're in no contact wondering if he's thinking of you, just know silence isn't empty, it's charged. With every day you stay in your power, you're rewriting how he sees you, not as the girl who waited, but as the woman who walked away with grace. And that kind of woman, she stays on his mind long after she's gone. When a man starts to miss you, it's not because of the selfies you posted or the way you looked when you walked away. It's because something deeper was triggered, something emotional that lingers long after the physical presence fades. Real longing doesn't come from visuals, it comes from feelings. And when you understand the emotional triggers that make him miss you, you realize it's not about being unforgettable. It's about being emotionally irreplaceable. One of the biggest emotional triggers is familiarity paired with peace. If when he was around you, he felt seen, heard, and safe, even in subtle ways, that memory stays with him. You might think he never noticed how you picked up on his moods or how you softened your voice when he was stressed. But men remember the women who understood them without judgment. That emotional safety becomes rare the moment he walks away, and it's that contrast, the noise of the world versus the peace he felt with you, that starts to eat at him. Another trigger is admiration, not flattery, not validation, but genuine admiration. If he felt like he was a better man in your presence, like you respected his ambitions or saw something in him he didn't even see in himself, that energy sticks, even if he didn't show it at the time. When a man loses someone who believed in him, it leaves a gap that ego can't fill. He might pretend he's fine, but deep down he misses the way you made him feel like more. Then there's emotional contrast. If you brought color to his routine, spontaneity to his structure, softness to his hardness, you created a contrast that now feels like absence. He remembers the way you laughed at his dumb jokes, the way your presence shifted the energy in the room, the way even your silence had a language he understood. And when he tries to replace that with someone new, it doesn't feel the same. Because emotional chemistry isn't copy-paste, it's rare. And when it's gone, he feels it more than he knows how to say. There's also the trigger of mystery, something many women underestimate. When you stop over-explaining yourself, when you walk away without a scene, you leave space. Space for curiosity, space for him to wonder. And men are deeply triggered by curiosity, especially when they can't read your next move. If he was used to you reacting, explaining, reaching out, and suddenly you go quiet, calm, centered, that emotional shift throws him off balance. And in that discomfort, he begins to miss not just the old version of you, but the version he didn't take the time to understand. And finally, there's the biggest emotional trigger of all, presence. Not physical presence, but emotional availability. When a man remembers the moments you showed up for him, not just during the highs, but during the vulnerable lows, it hits different. Especially when he realizes he didn't appreciate it fully. That kind of emotional intimacy isn't something he can recreate on demand. And once it's gone, the emotional impact is deep. So no, it's not about posting to get his attention or trying to make him jealous. It's about knowing that what he misses most isn't what you did for him. It's who you were when you were being real, emotionally open and present. That's what lingers. That's what replays in his mind when he lays awake at night. And that's what makes him miss you, not just out of nostalgia, but from a place of emotional memory that doesn't fade. Because when you create emotional safety, admiration, contrast, and presence in someone's life, You don't just pass through, you leave a mark, and some marks, they're never forgotten. And when he texts you out of nowhere with a casual, hey, or slides into your DMs after weeks or months of silence, it's easy to wonder, why now? What changed? The truth is, when a man reaches out again, it's rarely random. There's always something behind it. It's not just curiosity, boredom, or loneliness. It's about an emotional shift that caught him off guard. And often, it's something he never admits out loud. Sometimes it starts with a trigger. Maybe he hears a song you both used to play. Maybe he passes by a restaurant where you laughed so hard that one night you couldn't breathe. Maybe he sees someone who looks like you, and for just a second his mind tricks him into thinking it is you. These are small, seemingly insignificant moments, but they spark a wave of emotion he's not ready for. And when it hits, he doesn't reach for logic. He races for you. Other times it's silence that speaks louder than anything else. When you stop texting, stop watching his stories, stop liking his posts, he feels it. Even if he acts like he doesn't care, that digital silence becomes real distance. And suddenly the attention he once took for granted disappears. That absence isn't just noticed, it's felt. It disrupts the ego, the comfort, the expectation that you'd always be there. And that disruption often pushes him to reach out, not because he knows what he wants, but because he doesn't like how it feels to be forgotten. There's also the delayed regret. Men process emotional loss differently. While you may cry and reflect right after the breakup, he might distract himself, throw himself into work, flirt, or party. But eventually, when the distractions fade and the nights get quieter, he starts to feel it. The space you once filled. And it's not just about missing you. It's about missing who he was when he was with you. The version of him that felt seen, supported, understood. That emotional comfort doesn't come around often. And when it's gone, the void it leaves is hard to ignore. Sometimes he reaches out because his rebound didn't rebound. He tried moving on, thinking the grass was greener, but the connection didn't hit the same. The energy didn't flow. The effort felt forced. And it makes him realize that maybe, just maybe, he underestimated what he had. When someone tries to replace you and fails, it humbles them in ways no argument ever could. Then there's the ego. Let's be honest. Some men don't handle rejection well. And when you don't chase, when you don't beg or check in or ask what went wrong, it challenges his sense of importance. Reaching out becomes less about reconciliation and more about reassurance. He wants to know you still care, that you're still affected, that he still has a place in your mind. It's not always malicious, it's just emotional insecurity trying to soothe itself. But here's the thing. Not every message means he's ready for something real. Sometimes he's bored, sometimes he's lonely, sometimes he just wants to see if the door is still open. That's why it's so important not to read every "I miss you" as a sign of change. Actions, not words, reveal intent. So when he comes back around, the most powerful thing you can do is pause. Don't rush to reply. Don't overthink the message. Ask yourself, what do you want? What version of you is he even reaching out to? The one who waited or the one who evolved? Because sometimes he's not reaching out because he's changed. He's reaching out because you have. And that shift, it's what he never saw coming. When he comes back into your life, it's tempting to believe the timing is right, that maybe he's finally realized your worth, that this time it might be different. But before you open that door again, there's one question you have to ask yourself. Is he serious or just lonely? Because there's a huge difference between someone who's ready to build with you and someone who's just reaching out to fill a temporary void. Loneliness is loud. It talks in the middle of the night when no one else is around. It makes him remember your smile, your laugh, how you made him feel like he mattered. But here's the tricky part. Loneliness can look like love when it's dressed in nostalgia. He might say the right things. He might tell you he misses you, that he's been thinking about you, that he still cares. Maybe he does, but caring and committing aren't the same thing. One comforts him, the other requires something from him. You'll know he's just lonely if his messages are inconsistent, vague, or only show up late at night or when he's bored. If he avoids real conversations about the past, about what went wrong or what's changed, that's a sign. When a man is serious, he wants to talk about the uncomfortable stuff. He wants to show growth. He wants to meet you where you are, not drag you back into something familiar but broken. Loneliness doesn't want to be alone. Love wants to build something better. Pay attention to effort, not words, effort. Is he making time for you during the day when life is happening, not just when it's quiet and convenient? Is he asking about your world, your healing, your boundaries, or is he just looking for comfort without commitment? A man who is serious shows up differently. He listens more, he plans, he's present, not perfect, but consistent. Loneliness fades, but real intention shows up again and again, not just when emotions rise, but when real life requires presence. Sometimes loneliness drives him to you because you feel familiar, safe, warm. You're the emotional home he walked away from. But that doesn't mean he's ready to be who you need him to be. And here's the hard truth. Just because he misses you doesn't mean he values you enough to stay. He may miss the feelings if they're not followed by action. It's easy to miss someone in the silence. It's harder to stand by them in the day-to-day work of love. So what do? You observe. You stay grounded in your power. You ask yourself, does this man see me or just need me? You don't need to rush the answer. Time always reveals what intention tries to hide. Let his consistency speak. Let his effort prove it. Don't be afraid to take your time. Don't let loneliness, his or yours, rush you into repeating a cycle you've already healed from. Because, girl, you deserve more than to be someone's emotional crutch. You deserve to be someone's choice, someone's priority, not because they're lonely, but because they're ready. Ready to show up, ready to grow, and ready to meet the version of you that knows her worth. So when he calls, when he texts, when he says all the things you've been waiting to hear, pause. Listen with your heart and your logic. If he's serious, he'll prove it. If he's not, your silence will tell him everything he needs to know. And remember, you are not a backup plan. You are the upgrade he wasn't ready for the first time. Let him show you if he's ready now. And if not, let him miss the woman who finally chose herself. When he comes back, after the silence, the space, the hurt, it can stir up so many emotions. A part of you may want to run into his arms. Another part wants to shut him out completely. But here's the thing. A high-value woman doesn't rush into either. She doesn't respond. She knows her worth doesn't depend on his return. And she understands that the way she handles this moment will set the tone for everything that follows. A high-value woman isn't afraid of his return. She's not bitter, but she's also not blindly hopeful. She observes. She lets his actions speak louder than his words. Because anyone can say, I miss you, but only a man with real intent will back that up with consistent behavior, clear communication, and emotional accountability. She waits for clarity, not confusion. When he comes back, she doesn't feel the need to prove her value. She doesn't over-explain what she felt, how much she cried, or how she held on. She doesn't guilt him. She doesn't chase. Why? Because she knows he already sees the difference. He left someone who once might have begged for answers, but he's come back to someone who healed, grew, and stood in her power. That shift alone is powerful. He'll feel it. The way she talks, the way she moves, the way she's no longer reactive, that peace, that calm confidence, it's magnetic, and it makes him question everything he thought he knew about her. That's the thing about high value energy. It doesn't scream, it doesn't convince, Handling his return with grace doesn't mean letting him back in right away. It means asking yourself the hard questions. Has he truly changed? Or is he just uncomfortable being without you? Is he coming back to give or just to take your energy again? A high-value woman protects her peace. She doesn't let someone walk back into her life unless they've earned the right to be there. She sets boundaries, not to punish, but to protect. She communicates directly and clearly, not with games, not with silence, but with self-respect. If he wants access again, he needs to meet her where she is now, not where she used to be. She doesn't return to old cycles because they're familiar. She breaks them to create space for something real. And here's something even more important. She doesn't make his return about him. She doesn't sit and obsess over what he's thinking, what he's feeling, or what he wants. She turns inward. What do I want? What do I deserve? Am I emotionally safe with him? She puts herself at the center of the decision, not the fantasy of who he might become. Being high value isn't about being cold or untouchable. It's about emotional intelligence. It's about having the heart to forgive, but the strength to not forget what you've learned. It's knowing that love isn't just about connection, it's about alignment. And if he's not aligned with your growth, your healing, your vision, he doesn't get access just because he came back. Let him see the woman who chose herself, the woman who didn't wait around for an apology to evolve, the woman who walked away, leveled up, and glowed differently. That version of you, she's not desperate, she's not angry, she's just done settling. So when he returns, stay in your power, smile if you want, talk if you're open, but never forget what you deserve, because when you know your value, you'll never fear losing someone who didn't know how to treat you in the first place. And if he's serious this time, he'll rise to meet you. If he's not, you'll keep walking with grace and without regret. When he finally reaches out again, after the silence, the confusion, and the emotional roller coaster, your heart might skip a beat. It's natural. Maybe it's the message you've been hoping for. Maybe it's the validation you didn't know you still wanted. But in that moment, what you don't do matters just as much, if not more, than what you do, because one emotional reaction, one impulsive response can put you right back into a cycle you worked so hard to rise from. The first thing not to do, don't respond immediately. Pause, breathe, feel the feelings, but don't act from them. When you rush to reply, especially out of excitement or anxiety, it sends a message that you've been waiting, that you're still easily accessible, that your world was on hold until he reappeared. A high-value woman doesn't operate from urgency, she responds from clarity. Giving yourself space before answering creates emotional power. It allows you to think, not react. Don't start reminiscing or bringing up the past too quickly. It's tempting to fall back into familiar conversations, to talk about the good times, the inside jokes, the remember when moments. But nostalgia is not the same as progress. Just because he's in your inbox doesn't mean he's earned a front row seat in your life again. Keep the conversation grounded. Keep your energy calm. Let him show his intentions before you start romanticizing the past. Avoid seeking closure through this conversation. You may feel like this is your chance to finally understand what happened, why he left, what he felt, whether he missed you. But here's the truth. If he didn't give you clarity when it mattered, it's likely he won't now. Don't chase closure from someone who couldn't give you honesty before. You don't need his full explanation to move forward. Your healing isn't dependent on his answers. It's built on your decision. Don't pretend like nothing happened. Don't make light of the silence or act like everything's fine just because he showed up again. This isn't about holding a grudge, but it is about holding your boundaries. If you act like the distance didn't affect you, You invalidate your own growth. Acknowledge the gap. Respect the space that passed. You don't need to be harsh, but you do need to be honest. One of the biggest mistakes? Don't assume his message means he wants to start over. A man can miss you and still not be ready for you. He can want access to your energy without offering commitment. Not every I miss you is an invitation to rebuild. Sometimes it's just a moment of weakness or ego or comfort seeking. Don't project meaning onto a message that doesn't show consistent effort over time. Don't give him emotional intimacy too quickly. When he reaches out, it's easy to fall into deep conversations, to share your thoughts, your days, your feelings. But emotional access is earned, not given freely after silence. Keep your walls up, not to block love, but to filter it. Let him work to see the parts of you he once took for granted. And above all, don't forget how far you've come. Don't let a simple message undo months of healing. Don't trade your peace for the illusion of connection. You didn't grow through pain just to settle for confusion again. Remember who you are now. Remember what you deserve, and remember that just because someone returns doesn't mean they've changed. Let their actions speak. Let time reveal their truth. So when he contacts you again, stay still, stay strong, stay wise. You don't need to prove your worth, you already have. Now let him prove if he deserves a second chance, or if he's just another test you were meant to pass. When he reappears with a message, a call, or an apology that seems genuine, it's easy to get caught between your heart and your history. Maybe part of you still loves him. Maybe part of you still wonders, what if? But before you let the emotions take over, before you slide back into something just because it's familiar, there's one powerful question you need to ask yourself. If I met him for the first time today, would I choose him now? Not the version of him from the past, not the potential you once believed in, but the man in front of you today. This question strips away the nostalgia and cuts through the emotional noise, because often what pulls us back isn't love, it's habit, it's comfort. It's the story we told ourselves about how things were supposed to go. But choosing someone based on the past is like trying to read a new chapter while stuck rereading the old one. The real question isn't just whether you can take him back. It's whether the woman you are now wants to. Ask yourself what's changed. Not just in him, but in you. Have your standards evolved? Are you more emotionally aware, more self-protective, more clear about what love actually feels like when it's healthy? Can he meet the version of you who no longer tolerates inconsistency, confusion, or breadcrumb affection? Because the version of you who healed deserves more than the version of him that left. If he's still the same, still unsure, still not showing up fully, what are you really saying yes to? Then ask, does his return feel like love or relief? Sometimes we mistake relief for affection. Relief that he finally noticed. Relief that you weren't forgotten. Relief that the silence is over. But relief fades. What lasts is respect, trust, consistency. If you're only considering taking him back because it makes the pain stop, it's not healing, it's escaping. And you didn't come this far just to go numb again. Consider how he's come back. Did he take accountability or just say he misses you? Has he addressed the root of the issues, or is he brushing them under the rug, hoping time erased them? A man who's serious about a second chance doesn't just say sorry. He shows change. And not temporary change to win you back, but long-term consistency that aligns with growth. Pay attention to how he handles discomfort, how he reacts when you don't say yes right away. That's where the truth lives. And finally, ask yourself this. Do I feel peace or do I feel pressure? The answer to whether you should take him back often reveals itself in how your body feels when he's around again. Real love feels like safety. It doesn't make you question yourself every day. It doesn't require constant decoding. If being with him again means shrinking, second guessing, or starting over with someone who hasn't caught up to your growth, then maybe the most loving thing you can do is keep walking. Taking him back is a powerful decision. It's not weak, but it should never come from fear. If he's truly changed, you'll know, not because he says all the right things, but because he becomes someone different, someone better. And if he hasn't, then letting him go isn't losing love. It's honoring yourself. So before you say yes, look in the mirror and ask, do I feel stronger with him or without him? Your answer is already in your heart. Now trust it. And act like the woman who knows exactly what she deserves. So here you are, he reached out, and you've been faced with a decision you never thought you'd have to make again. But before you do anything, take a deep breath and remember, just because someone comes back doesn't mean they deserve access to you again. Your heart isn't a revolving door. It's a sacred space, and you have every right to protect it. The truth is, his return is not your cue to fall back into old patterns. It's your opportunity to rise in your worth. Your next move should not be based on his words alone, but on how his actions align with your boundaries, your values, and your growth. You are no longer the same woman he walked away from. You've evolved. You've healed. You've learned what love is supposed to feel like, safe, clear, consistent. Your next move is to move intentionally. Observe. Don't overinvest emotionally before you see real proof of change. Don't explain your standards. Enforce them. Don't rush to forgive. Give it time. And most of all, stay rooted in your self-respect. That's your power. Whether you take him back or close the door for good, do it from a place of peace, not pressure. Trust yourself to choose what's right for you, not the version of you that missed him, but the version of you that knows better now. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't just to get love back. The goal is to receive a love that reflects everything you've become. You're not asking for too much. You're just not willing to settle anymore. That's your power. That's your move. Now make it count.